again, typical, just dressed to go out and go for our run before the kids finish school, and literally just as I did. Just saw some breaking news that I thought would be really good to jump on quickly and chat about. So, as the thumbnail says, talks for Chesco look like they are beginning. So United have officially started talks and started to inquire about Chesco. Now, where's this come from? So this has come from Christopher Michel in Germany, and he's I've checked him out, and he seems like quite a good source, tier 1 over there. And according to him, United have now officially started talks with RB Leipzig, and they are now inquiring and basically looking to see how we can get this deal. Now, the interesting thing about this is the fact that there is a release clause in Chesco's contract. So the release clause or the amount of money that they are sort of looking for is between 68 to 75 million. And I think it's fair to say that when we're thinking about that, we're sort of now looking at the Ekitike deal, which was around about 78 mil. The Gyökeres deal, probably you can sort of maybe ignore that. I think it's more pertinent to probably look at the deals going on in the Bundesliga. I mean, the Wirtz deal, I think, has probably skewed. Well, this is worth 128 mil. So basically, this is coming from a tier 1 source over in Munich, I think it is. Christopher Michael, who is, as I said, is a tier 1 over there, who is now putting it out there. And according to his links and his sources, that United have now officially started talks and inquiring about a deal and the way that they can try to make this happen. The structure of that deal. So if you don't know, I'm sure you will do, that Arsenal were kind of looking at the Chesco deal. I think Chesco for them was the kind of the deal that they wanted to do. A little bit younger, 22 years old, kind of getting about 20 goals a season. It was the structure of the deal I think Arsenal were struggling with. They are also struggling with the deal to get Gyökeres over the line. So I think that was kind of the main sticking point there. So according to Christopher, this kind of structure of the deal they're looking to do is they want that first instalment of about 23 mil. Now, the good thing about that for me is that I think that that's something that we can definitely do. So now with Rashford going over to Spain, to Barcelona, pretty much the savings there can pretty much cover that. The fact that we're not having to pay that, I think that this is something that I think we can do. And I think that the fact that we are now talking and we have gone to Leipzig to look at the structure of this deal to try and get this over the line, I think is really encouraging. Now, Nicholas Jackson has also been mentioned. That's a big massive no for me. Now, I was kind of the opinion if we could maybe do that deal for about 30 million then perhaps, but AC Milan were quoted about 100 million for him, and it's an absolute no for me. So when we're talking about Nicholas Jackson around that 100 million mark, I think is crazy. But also Chelsea are inquiring about a Chesco deal. Now, what would be really annoying for me is if we went to go and fund the Chesco, if we funded Chelsea's deal for Chesco by giving him money for the Jackson deal. So that's an absolute massive no for me. Finishing is awful. So I think we need to go out and do this Chesco deal. The fact that we are now in talks with Leipzig, I don't think a deal with Chesco is going to be an issue. I think that Favel knows him really well, so I think that's another green tick there. So I think Chesco will definitely be open to a move. I think he's the best of the rest that's out there. I don't know who else we could really pivot to. Obviously, there are some targets that, as we spoke about the show on this morning. Maybe some of these kind of lesser known to take a punt on, but now that we are looking and actually starting to talk, according to Christopher Michel, I think that's how you pronounce the name, is basically now coming out and basically saying that Chesco talks are starting. I think that I think we could get that done if we're serious about this deal and the way we played against Leeds, and if we can get this done early, then I think that we can do this deal. So I'm really positive about this. I'm really happy that talks have begun. I think Sesko will add a lot to the forward line. Those 20 goals that he scored, can he do it from the Bundesliga? Will he? He's young, 22. So at worst case, again, I know 70 odd mil is seems like a lot, but when you're kind of comparing to what else is out there on the market, can we afford not to go for a statement striker? Good enough for Arsenal. The only reason why Sesko will fit the system. Hello there to Fair Boy. I think he does. I think he absolutely fits the system. One thing I like about Chesco is the age. The profile, I think he's got two great feet. I watched some of his goals and some of his play. The movement for him is I think is brilliant. The fact that Arsenal were going for him, and Arsenal can now obviously say that we weren't really in for him. I think the thing that stopped that deal for Arsenal was the structure of the payments. So they are struggling to get the Gyökeres deal over the line because Arsenal want to pay in a particular way. So Chesco for them is, I don't think they were necessarily outpriced. I think they didn't want to pay the price, obviously, but they also didn't want to do the structure of the deal. So the first payment is believed to be around 23 mil. And I for a striker of that age, caliber, potentially what he can bring to the club, I think that's a good deal. And with the savings now, with Sancho looking likely to go to Juventus unless that does collapse, so we'll be saved those wages there. Rashford going to Barcelona, that's happening. So there's a load of money saved there. Anthony, again, he's still not gone yet, and he's still there. I think that he'll be gone soon. So Garnacho, I think for me, is probably the one left. I think he's going to be the sort of main one that will push these deals through. If we can get him gone, the interesting thing as well is the Barcelona deal for Rashford is there's a 25 million option to buy. Young says hi, hello. I hope we're doing really well today. I hope you are doing well in whatever you are up to today. Thank you for joining me. If you're new to the channel, I'm JB. And yeah, don't forget to favorite and subscribe. Really helps the channel out. One thing that I will say is that this chat is fantastic. The only thing I do ask in the chat is obviously be respectful. One of the things I do actively encourage here is obviously pretty much say what you want as long as it's within the realms of good taste. The different opinions, the better. I'm not gonna stop you from having your opinion. I think different opinions are fantastic. I did a watch along against Leeds Saturday. Yesterday evening we had some really good chats actually, and I think the more interesting opinions the better. So don't be scared to put your opinion on different things, and we can have a chat about them all. So Rashford, there's an option there for Barcelona for 23 mil, 25 million. I mean, that just goes to show how low his stock has fallen. 23 mil for a player like 2 or 3 seasons ago was touted as a £100 million player. So the pure profit on him, the fact that we're not paying his wage, save somewhere in the region of about 15 mil. When you add that to the 25 mil, when you factor that in, it's almost like a a £40 million deal is not quite, but just to make myself feel better, getting 25 million for him. So pretty much, I think he'll go. I think it's a really cheap deal. Garnacho is the one. I think for me, if we can get him gone, him to go to Villa, or Villa are in for him now. I was of the opinion, and I think that many people in the chat are of the opinion, to try and do some sort of swap deal and do that for Martinez. I think Lemons is the way that we're going to go from Antwerp. I think that I also think we're at a stage now, and there's been a couple of reports. I need to check into those to see how good they are, but Antwerp are expecting a bid, pretty much expecting a bid for the keeper, and Lemens for around about 15 million. I think you'd be silly not to. Lemens looks like a keeper. Again, I've checked him out. He looks like a big, strong lad. 23 years old. That's kind of that number two. I think not happy to stay number two, but kind of not in a rush to be number one. Potentially get him in, look for his opportunity, and for 15 million, depending on price. Lemens for me is I think I would probably go down that road and look to get Chesco. So now that we are in talks, I think there's too much noise now. Christopher Michel has basically confirmed that tier 1 from the German league, saying that we've now entered talks, we're now entered that race. We are looking at structure of the deal. There doesn't appear to be any issue from the player side. I think the player will be more than happy to sign. Yeah, we just got to get in this. We just got to make this offer. So I'm hoping, especially now with this Ekitike deal being done so quickly after that Leeds game, I think it's really important that we get Chesco in. I think it's really, really important that he'll be perfect for the system. I think he's got 2 great feet. I think that getting him in by the preseason tour, I think, is a must. It would be really funny if Chesco comes in before the Arsenal game, and then he ends up scoring the winner against Arsenal. I think that would be fitting if Gyökeres plays in it, and it's the battle of the strikers. The Gyökeres is so tennis to footballs, all the way. So that would be really interesting. I would be looking forward to that game anyway. But if we got Chesco, Gyökeres goes to Arsenal, I think that will be some games to add a little bit of spice, and Chesco scores the winner, and Gyökeres hits a blank. I think for me that would be a fantastic game. So not only do I want Chesco to sign, I also want to. Then I think that then makes the Arsenal game a bit spicy, and this is what I want. I want these signings to come in. I want the likes of a Chesco to come into the league. We as a club, as fans, we as fans deserve this signing. I think we deserve it. I think we need this signing. I think we need a statement striker. You can argue that maybe Chesco is not of an Osman league, but he's 23. I think he's right age. When you look at the price of strikers right now, I think that is the deal to do. Otherwise, the alternatives, you're scraping the barrel, you are scraping free market. You're going after like a Watkins, and I know Watkins, I think he would do a job, but you don't want to do a job. You want a statement striker, and I think particularly as Lemens is there for that deal to do. So it looks like with talks for Chesco, that's happening now. Starting those official talks, seeing if we can get the structure for the deal. 23 million first payment, I don't think would be an issue for us, not with the money that we've saved. And then Lemens for 17 million. I think those two combined maybe maybe 80 million. So basically 80 million for a striker and a goalkeeper, and then maybe that gives us a bit more freedom to go and get a centre midfielder. And I definitely think that's sort of where we need to go next. So if anything else does break, I'm hoping now that we kind of exacerbate and we really make a move for Chesco. I want to see an Ornstein reporting it. I want to see a Romano kind of really reporting it. I want to see the Jackson stuff gone. United should sign Sesko, mustn't sign Victor Gyökeres. He can't change United. He is born in the Portuguese league rather than the English Premier League. Gyökeres for me, I respect that. I think you can fall either side. I think the fan base, have moved on from him now. I think that it's almost a bit like, right, when you kind of fancy a girl, right? Hi. And it's a bit like when you fancy a girl and she sort of kind of wants you, and then she goes off with like your best mate, and like they're not quite sure, but things happen. And then it's almost a bit like then he doesn't know and she's a bit like, well, you're fine. So you just don't want that. I think it'd be 2 sloppy seconds now. I think Gyökeres, as much as I like that player, as much as I think he would have been a good thing. I think too much time has passed. I think he's made his bed at Arsenal. Is kind of is Arsenal or bust. And then I almost think if we kind of go in for a deal, his heart's not really in it. Don't get me wrong, he's still a fantastic striker, but I think Chesco is sort of now, Gyökeres has had his chance, and I think Chesco, we've, as I've said in videos, I've moved on from him. As far as I'm concerned, he's playing against us, first game of the season, and this is why we need to combat that with a Chesco. This is why we do need to combat that with a striker. Chesco, I think, would be, the more and more I think about it, I think he'd be perfect. Nicholas Jackson, again, those links don't go away for him, and I do think that we are thinking about that. But this news report from a tier 1 in Germany, Christopher Michael, tier 1, we're in talks with Chesco. It's a good day. We are, every day right now seems to be a good day, and I don't think we've just been linked for the sake of it. I think we're doing stuff that's really positive. So for the first time since Friday in Burma, here we go. Playing back Leeds. The Leeds game wasn't great. Don't get me started on that game. That Leeds game was awful. Chesco, I think, would be good because OB, I think, needs a foil. I think OB needs a teacher. Chesco's coming to the age where I think the things that he's learnt, I think he can bring that on. Højlund, for me, I hate to say it, but I think he's a lost cause. I think he needs to go somewhere else, because I think that he's too. He's part of the old now. I know he's only young, but for me, I think he's damaged in terms of us. I just don't think he's good enough for us and for what we need. So we need that Chesco. We need that striker. So official talks, release clause. The Ravel link as well from us. He knows the player really well. Leipzig, I just think there's too much in this now. So I'm hoping I'm going to go for a run. Hoping by the time I get back, 3 o'clock, that hopefully there'll be some more news. If a Romano or an Ornstein starts to drop this, then I think we're going to escalate this as quick as we possibly can. Lemens as well. I think I'd even say expect maybe not a here we go, but I'd be expecting a bid for that coming in today, tomorrow. I'm quite optimistic about that's where we're going to go. I think Garnacho will be gone soon. I think the Napoli link. I think that's gone. to be fair, the United stand. To be fair to them, they were the ones that originally, and this is not to call them out, they do get some bits and bobs in. That was where they were heading and adamant about that move. I don't think that that's gonna. I don't think that that's gonna go. Tennessee Tube says, I'm from Ethiopia. Wow, hello from England to Ethiopia. I have been supporting the club for 19 years. The last season was so terrible, and the fans, besides two striker, no holding midfielder like Carrick. Nice to see you've been supporting them for a long time. I've been supporting United for 38 years now. I go back into the 80s. Obviously, there's a load of stuff. I mean, I'm 42, so since I was about 3 or 4 years old, I was pretty much born into it. There's a couple of early things. I remember watching the games live on TV just before it started in the Premier League. When the Premier League started, I was probably about 9 or 10. So I remember those years. I mean, I could bore you now for the next 3 hours talking about our older players. The Carrick one there, I agree with you completely. I think you hit the nail on the head completely. We missed a conductor. We missed that sort of centre midfield like a maestro. And as for other signings, I think you hit the nail on the head. I think we need a central midfielder. We can talk about all the midfielders that we've had. Well, we're not going to get Scholesy, we're not going to get Keane. These are sort of combative players that we need in the midfield. I don't know if we can afford that this year. I don't know if there's something that we can do. Rios for me was the one. He's gone to Benfica, so I think that that's that. Edison is still around, but I just think if we go all in for Chesco, I think that's pretty much done. Chesco and Bermo, Cunha, a goalkeeper, then I think that we probably, unless we can do some sort of deal towards the end of the window, and as long as we get rid of the Sanchos, the Garnachos, the Malasias, Anthony. So I think once those are gone, then maybe we'll start to do some more stuff. But I do agree with you on that one. We do need Carrick. We need that conductor there. Casemiro this year is going to be absolutely. I'm petrified. Tantu says, I don't replace Carrick still now. They should sign Anderson or Javi Guerrera. Do you know what? Again, this is why I love this chat. This is why we were so invested in other players, and we probably know than that recruitment team. I think some really good suggestions there. I'd even take Anderson that we had many years ago now. But we've never. You're right. You're 100% right. Carrick's never been replaced, even with Fergie. Carrick was never replaced. Keane was never replaced. We've been screaming out for a proper kind of conductor. We've been screaming out for that kind of Xavi, screaming out for that Keane, screaming out for something just to bring us some control, bring us a conductor in that midfield, and that's something that we don't. The likes of Mainu, I don't know where I don't know what's going on with him. Collier for me is definitely not it. As much as I want to see these kids come through, Collier is definitely not it. I'd stick him out on loan. Ugarte, he's got to have a big season this year. I didn't, again, the jury's still out on him. Again, he's not a conductor. Defensive midfielder, I'm not sure what he is in regards to that, but it's a big season for him. Casemiro, Fernandez playing in there. I mean, the midfield is. I didn't actually. I knew we needed one in there, but I thought it would be okay. But after that Leeds game and just kind of watching how we were and how we basically played the same as we did the whole of last season. I am now of the opinion that I definitely think we need one more in there. And yeah, I think we are. If there's one area of concern for me, is that central midfield. Otherwise, we're going to go to a back five, and we are going to play that defensive, like 5-5-2-2-1 formation that and that's not what we're supposed to be doing. So I think centre midfield, I